So you want to be a game developer. You have a passion for games and you want to create something fun, something new, or maybe you just want to get someone addicted to something you've made. But obviously you also want to stay within the legal confines of the law, because you're a law-abiding citizen who definitely does not have a history of acquiring games illegally on the internet as a young lad. We've all heard the stories by now, the demand to create greedy game mechanics by your company's higher up, evil corporations ruining the integrity of your work, horrendously long working hours. But that's been done to death. We're gonna talk about other things, like the struggles of game development, and adult things, like compromising during a disagreement. And of course, horrendously long work hours. We here at the GDWC actually love games, but sometimes there are struggles that only game devs will experience in the way they experience it. So if you prefer something a little more positive, check out our other video, Reasons Why You Should Become a Game Developer. And if you enjoy any of our videos, remember to give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications, so you'll know when we upload another video, as well as discover with us the latest hidden gem indie games. So here are some reasons why you shouldn't do the things you love, and instead pursue a boring career in whatever field your parents said you should have gone into instead. And if you disagree with me, leave me a comment in the comment section below telling me why you're wrong, because I, as a person on the internet, hold infallible opinions that is the one and only truth and is always right because I'm a guy talking in a video. Limited scales! Let's begin with the big problem that plagues all solo game developers, or small problem depending on how you look at it, and that is of scale. As one single person, you may have dreams of creating the types of game you've played, and depending on what inspired you, this could be as simple as Tetris, but it's more likely that you were inspired by incredibly large games that were made by huge studios with hundreds of developers. No matter how strong your passion for games is, you cannot do everything on your own, unless you can multiply yourself, creating 100 or so copy and all work in unison to create your ultimate dream game. But alas, you're just a mere mortal. So your other option is to compromise and form a team, which can be difficult for some people because it involves things like talking to another human being. Compromise! So after assembling your team, you're now no longer alone. You have a group of like-minded individuals coming together to create the perfect game. At last, your dream game is now in sight. Which brings us to the next reason why you should give up on your dreams, and that's the need for compromise. Like, who's ever heard of compromising? Two or more adults coming to a settlement of differences by mutual concessions in an agreement that would address each other's conflicting concerns in a productive way? That's preposterous. The person you're disagreeing with should just give up and admit that you're right. Because why would you, a very reasonable person, believe in something that's good if it wasn't in fact better than what they believed in? Takes forever to develop a game. Development periods can take forever, or at least a very, very long time. Imagine working on your passion projects for months, even years, putting blood, sweat, and tears into your project. Not literally, of course. Blood, sweat, and tears are liquid, and generally pouring liquid onto your computer is a bad idea. But after all that hard work making your game only to have it buried in a pile of shovelware lost somewhere in the sea of digital-only games without a marketing budget, that feels terrible. If only there was a company somewhere out there that promotes indie games, we should probably support such an organization by liking and subscribing and sharing their videos. Surely with the support of their viewers, they could reach even larger audiences. Your ideas don't always make it in. Now that you've subscribed, we can move on. And if you haven't, do it now. So, we here at the GDWC focus mainly on indie developers and games. But sometimes, working independently doesn't guarantee you an income consistently. And you're kinda getting sick of having instant ramen for every meal for the past 4 months. Congratulations! You sacrificed your freedom and integrity to make games for someone else. We're only joking, of course. Going pro means you'll be working on someone else's project, but it's not entirely theirs. You can have creative input, it's just harder to get it approved. It also means you have less time to work on your own personal projects. But it sure beats dying of malnutrition. Never finishing your games. Like a lot of projects, developing a game also runs the risk of churning out an incomplete project. and the longer your project lasts, the more likely something will eventually go wrong. For example, someone breaks into your house and steals all your belongings, and your game, well, you better have that backed up, cause it's gone now. And I know what some of you are thinking.
What kind of deranged Wile E. Coyote shit is that?
Maybe there's something more important to think about than your computer being slow when somebody breaks into your house. And to those people I say, have you ever worked on a project for like 8 hours only to have the software you're using crash on you, then realize you hadn't saved even once during that 8-hour window? It's basically that, but worse, because now your computer is gone too. It is also entirely possible you just lose interest or get burnt out, but I like my example better. A very competitive industry. The game industry is competitive, just like some video games, but unlike some video games, you cannot smack your opponent in the head to get ahead. No, sadly, you must compete in the most boring of ways, word of mouth. That or spend an ungodly amount of money on ads, which is a resource most people lack. I mean, unless you're willing to rob a bank, and even then, bank heists don't really yield that much money, then you'll have to go through a process to get that money back into a bank, and when they ask you where you got that money, you can't really say that you robbed the bank across the street. My bosses told me I'm legally obligated to say that that was a joke, and we here at the GDWC do not endorse committing criminal acts such as robbing banks or duct taping the people you work with against their will. The eternal struggle of deadlines. When you're developing a game, you'll come face to face with the nemesis of all game developers, deadlines. Whether they're self-imposed or dictated by a publisher, deadlines are a consistent source of stress and last-minute panic. You'll find yourself chugging coffee at 3 AM, questioning your life choices, and wondering if you can just turn back time to fix that pesky bug. Unfortunately, you aren't a time traveler, so your best bet is to buckle down and try to meet the deadline. And hey, if you don't meet it, there's always the option to push it back, right? It's not like there's an evil corporation telling you you have to pump out broken and incomplete video games. No, that would be terrible, and we've never seen that ever happen before. The myth of free time. Free time. A concept that seems to elude game developers like a rare, mythical creature. As a game developer, you may find yourself wondering what it would be like to have a social life or indulge in hobbies outside of game development, or even playing games. But alas, it appears that the universe has a sick sense of humor, because the moment you start making progress on your game, you'll suddenly have friends and family asking you to spend time with them. After all is said and done, whether or not you want to become a game developer should be a decision that's up to you. And with the game industry growing at such a rapid pace, it's probably a safe career path to take. So if you liked the video, remember to leave us a like if you haven't already, share this video with your friends, and while you're here, you should really check out our other video essay on metafiction or the history of horror game mechanics. Also, there's the, why you should become a game developer video that we, kind of pointed out earlier. Check that out. Alright guys, see ya!